Now, perhaps one of our country's most beloved musical writers and directors, and of course not forgetting his vocal prowess in writing of music, David Kramer joins us once again in our studio to come and chat about his latest, or the latest production he has running at the Fugard Theatre until the 18th of August, called Cat and the Kings. Always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank
so
you.
how are you? You good?
I'm very good, very good.
Last time you were here, we were having our own little crazy session with Mark Lottering. You were running Some Like It Fraught.
And you were going to come and audition for Cat and the Kings, eh?
Well, you did say something about that.
You did say something. You had this beautiful voice, you could sing and dance, and I think you chicken dance. Eh? I think you chicken dance.
Coming from you, I take that as a huge compliment. Thank you very much. But let's talk about that. I mean, this was the fourth, you corrected me a couple of minutes ago, the fourth musical that you wrote alongside the late Tali Peterson.
Yes.
And surely a very special one to you.
It's a very special one because, you know, it started in a corner in a theatre, and it just grew and developed, and, you know, we didn't think it was going to run longer than a few weeks. And then it went on to tour South Africa and was invited to London, and you know, and once it was seen in London, it got onto the West End in London and won the awards of Best New Musical in London in 1999. Went to Broadway, you know, it took over the world. So it was just overwhelming.
But tell me about that. I mean, because back in those days, this was back in the 90s, right?
Yes.
Where the world kind of had an obscure view of what South Africa was really like on the inside. Obviously, there was this world picture given the time. But here you are, you're writing this musical, which goes out and becomes a resounding success outside internationally. What do you think is it that made it catch on?
Well, I think there was an interest in South Africa in the 90s because obviously we moved from, you know, apartheid into democracy, yes. And so there was quite a focus on sort of the new South Africa. Mm-hmm. And in some ways, this musical speaks of the old South Africa and the hope for the new South Africa. You know, this man is hoping that his life's going to change. Which is essentially the spirit of this musical, yeah. A man who doesn't give up on his dreams. Mm-hmm. And that seemed to connect really well. And the fact that, that the songs are written in a style of rock and roll music, yes. And it's early rock and roll. It's rock and roll from the late 1950s, 1957,
sure.
58. I guess that's the early 1950s, late 1950s style. And that rock and roll has appealed to people all around the world. I mean, you know, it just has an incredible dynamic, yeah. That whether you come from the east or the west, you know, people have responded really well to that basic rock and roll stuff, and the energy of the performance is what blows people away.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you mentioned that now, because I mean it throws way back. Yet the cast you have right now, young guys, half of them probably my age.
Probably weren't born when I wrote this.
Exactly. So how do you bring them into this whole feeling of it and make them relate to what is going to Get into it. I mean, 5 weeks of rehearsal on, and I was asking now that, you know, it's
grueling.
It's grueling.
It's like going on an obstacle course.
And these guys have come in and made it their own, essentially, because
yes.
There are probably old fans that have watched this before.
Yes.
And, you know, when they heard it was coming,
old friends.
Yeah. That's exactly what they did. You know, are they going to be as good as the past casts that we've seen? Yeah. How's it been received?
Well, you know, I think people did come sort of look, oh, well, are they going to be as good as Alistair and Lukman and, you know, the ones we love? And I think they've completely, you know, that question doesn't get asked anymore. Yeah. Because these guys are really good, and you'll hear them sing.
Yeah.
They sing really well, and they put the show down. And they've been trained by the old guys, so...
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they have the mentorship of the guys.
They have the mentorship of the previous team, and I think they're just doing really well. I'm very thrilled.
When we heard about it, we were like, you know what, well, we have a cat on Expresso. That happens to be me. My nickname is Cat. And we have the other guys, they could be the Kings, and we thought we might just put a little bit of something together.
If I'd known that, I mean, you know, I mean, you would have just got the role, just on the name.
Oh, man, I forgot about it.
Cat and the Kings.
Well, it's great having you here. Later on, we're going to be chatting to Mr. Kramer as well as the cast, and we're going to hear them sing some of the...
Lonely Girl.
Lonely Girl. Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. So stay tuned for that. Ewan, right over to you. Are you ready to be a king, Ewan?
Stay with Expresso and SABC3.